Vanderbilt will enter Blacksburg and Lane Stadium. They will leave with a victory.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Shout out to you everydayers, and we are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Do it while you can. However, speaking of futures, we are one day away from the future of this Vanderbilt Virginia Tech game. And I've been analyzing it all week. I had Alex Dono on a crossover yesterday's episode. I've been talking about this quarterback battle day in and day out, how much I think Diego Pavia has the upper hand. We'll continue to break down this matchup. I'm going to give you my keys. I'm going to make my SEC picks as well. We're going to predict what's happening in this one. And then, of course, laying out how Vanderbilt is going to get it done. But the thing I want to talk about right now, leading into this game, is, and something I really haven't gotten into this week, is really what this game means, what the impact of this game is. And when you look at this matchup, just as a pure matchup, not much impact there, not much rivalry. I mean, I think there's a little bit of banter, a little bit of small ounce of rivalry because of the most recent result, but I don't think these two teams have a history, nor will they ever have a history. So this game in that regard is just your typical non-conference game. But for Vanderbilt, it does mean a lot more. And actually for Virginia Tech, it means a lot more for their own sake, not necessarily for the matchup sake, but for their own sake. Like Virginia Tech, their coach is on the hot seat. Brent Pry, the fan base is about ready to turn on them. I read reports today that they had a players-only meeting, and those are never good. And so things are in a little bit of turmoil up there in Virginia Tech, if I'm reading the tea leaves right. If I'm reading that they had a players-only meeting and that's true, then I think there's some real trouble there because there's nothing good that can come from those player meetings. For Vanderbilt, and that's the team I want to focus on more about as far as the impact goes. This is our first true road test of the year. And this is their first time as a more veteran-laden team, as a more experienced team than they were last year, as a deeper team than they were last year, and realistically, a better team than they were last year. This is their first true test of the season. On the road, against a really formidable, great defense, especially along the defensive line. You're going up against a super talented quarterback on the other side, and they're well coached. And despite what you think about Brent Pry and however he has it together, I think the importance of this game is that of which I think Vandy, if they want a shot, I think they have to win this game, obviously. And I'm always going to say they have to win this game, but this is an important springboard for them because they've got a South Carolina team that they haven't really found their identity yet. They really haven't found themselves yet. Now they play South Carolina State, so they'll get to work out a few kinks, but they're a team that's still looking for themselves. They're a team that's still trying to get Lenore Sellers into the groove and to take that next step as a quarterback. He still didn't really take the next step as a quarterback against Virginia Tech. And this is a matchup where I think Vanderbilt has a chance to really put themselves in a good position to win not only this week, but I think if they can win this week and do so in a way that, I'm not saying blowout. No, there's no chance of a blowout here. I don't think it, either way. I think it's going to be a tight game. But I think if they win this game, they set themselves up to win another very tough road game at Williams-Brice. So this game could set them up with the confidence of that. So the impact of this is being able to get those reps at a hostile road environment, being able to get Diego Pavia and this offense some looks against a really good defense, and for this team to gain a ton of confidence, for this team to gain buckets of confidence. So I'm really excited about the impact of this game. I think there's a lot on the line here. I think if they win this game and they win it, and if they can do so even in a fairly convincing fashion, I think they have a chance of getting 9 this year if they can get this one, because there's some teams out there on this conference schedule that's a little shaky right now. And, I think Vandy can play their way into, a pretty good season, but it starts tomorrow against Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. And like I said, if they can win convincingly, they can get the crowd out of it. And I'm going to tell you why here in just a minute. We're going to kind of go over what they need to do, but I do think they get it done. And that's kind of my early prediction. And we'll get into the steadfast prediction, but this game could catapult their season. And that's kind of what it truly means. So how are they going to get it done? Well, here's how they're going to get it done. Okay. Here's the keys to success. This is kind of the overview of those keys to success. I think for the offense, we'll start there because Diego Pavia is obviously the most important part of this. But I think in order for Diego Pavia to have a really good game and be successful in this environment, I think Vanderbilt's got to find a way to control the line of scrimmage, which they did a year ago. They controlled the line of scrimmage for the most part a year ago, and they were able to move the ball quite frequently. They hit some roadblocks early in the second half, but then they kind of got it back together. They ended up winning that game in overtime. So this is their chance to really put a big stamp on their offensive line as far as the confidence goes, as far as their ability to control the line of scrimmage against most teams. Like, their defensive line is one of the better ones they're going to face. This is in the upper half of defensive lines they're going to face. Last week was probably the bottom. The 12th best defense they'll play all year was last week. And they're only 12th because they were on the schedule. They're probably the worst defense they will ever face last week. So, but this week is Virginia Tech, and this week, again, they can get after you. They can be disruptive. They can do some things from a pass rush standpoint, from the interior, from a run stopping standpoint, from the interior and the edges. They're good enough to really lock those things down, and they're good enough to really make it hard for you to find a consistent run lane and to be able to get downhill. Part of what makes a good defensive line in the run game is if they can control the line of scrimmage, if they can get your back to stop, or from our defensive perspective, if we can get their backs to stop and redirect, then that gives them the advantage because they can fight off a block, because the acceleration, just human nature and physics, puts the defense at an advantage in that regard. Now, if running backs are able to get downhill, if they're able to get through the line of scrimmage to the second level untouched, that's where you run into some problems. And Virginia Tech can do that. And Virginia Tech's linebackers aren't as good as their defensive linemen. Their corners are pretty good. Their safeties are pretty good. But overall, I wouldn't say their defense is daunting. I'd say they're disruptive. They're going to make their plays, but they can also give up some yards as well. So this is something that Diego Pavia is really going to have to kind of focus on. And if he's going to do well, they're going to have to control the line of scrimmage, because if they can give Diego Pavia time, he can dissect this defense. He's good enough this year to do so. Last year, I don't think I would have been saying the same thing. I wasn't saying the same thing. I didn't really know a lot about Diego Pavia last year. Nobody did. We knew he was a tough, scrappy kid that was a gamer because of what he did against Auburn 2 years ago when he was still at New Mexico State. That's kind of all we knew Diego Pavia as. So with that, you always had a chance, but we were never really quite sure what we were going to get. But the offensive line controlled the line of scrimmage early and often, more times than they didn't. And this offense was able to feast a little bit last year against Virginia Tech, especially in the first half. They were able to push them around. So I think they're going to look for similar success there, because, again, if you can get movement on their defensive line, if you can crumble their defensive line, this could be that death blow that they need. And this could be that demoralizing thing that would send an already emotionally fragile team over the edge. So we're going to talk more about the keys to the game. We're going to make a prediction. We're going to do all of that next. But first, man, I'm hungry. It's DoorDash. Man, it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered. Let's break it down. For Vanderbilt, I'm picking Diego Pavia. He delivered in a big way, especially in the run game. He scored on a scramble. He was able to tuck the ball, get the edge, and get it into the end zone. And he came through, man, with no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance was not a fluke. If you've been watching Diego Pavia at all, this game is not a fluke, and Diego Pavia is definitely on a streak. So, and just like with Diego Pavia, when he delivered for Vanderbilt, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season. You could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period is valid through November 18th. So, now we're on to Mazda. Do you guys drive a Mazda? Well, did you know this? Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive. And that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. Mazda offers more than safety. It's won more 2025 IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of this August. As an athlete that focuses on every detail, Mazda does the same, from metallic accents to hand-stitched snap of leather. You can feel it in the moment when you get behind the wheel. The smooth handling, intuitive controls, the standard all-wheel drive in every crossover SUV. Whether it's a quick drive to practice or a weekend road trip, Mazda makes it even. Everyday drivers feel special. It's small details that make big plays. And just like there's more to every player, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team. If you need a second listen, Locked On SEC with Chris Gordy is the place to go. Now, we're talking about the impact of the game. This game could set Vanderbilt up for a really, really special season. And if they lose, I don't think it kills their season, but it does put a damper on what could be a very, very special, successful season. So how does Vanderbilt get this one done? Well, we talked about offense. Offense needs to control the line of scrimmage. They need to protect Diego Pavia, and they need to make and hit some explosive plays. All of that is going to come through line of scrimmage control. If they can control the line of scrimmage, they can control the clock. They control all of that. Now, defensively, here's where it gets tricky because Kyron Drones is a special dude, but we talked about him, and even Alex Dono agrees, and even a lot of Virginia Tech fans in the comments agree. He's a roller coaster at best, and they're already and Vanderbilt has a chance to do something crazy and cause a quarterback turnover. Now, again, I'm going to bring back up the players only meeting. Now, those things, sometimes, occasionally, they can be harmless. But most of the time, if you're having a players only meeting, it means something's not going right. And something usually involves the players not vibing with the coaching staff. So is Brent Pry losing this team? That's a question now with the news of this possible players only meeting, which I'm not sure if that's true or not. So I'm gonna say allegedly, I guess, or like by hearsay. If that is correct, if that is true, Brent Pry, to me it screams Brent Pry is losing this team. And by that, I think that puts Vanderbilt at a supreme advantage. Now, defensively, make Kyron Drones throw from a muddy pocket. He can't do it. Make it muddy. Make him have to step up and throw it and into a weird follow through. Make him have to slide and throw at the same time. Make him be on the run laterally. Put him in some very, very uncomfortable situations. Make things nightmarish for him. If you allow him to sit back there and pick you apart, he will. He's that good. If you undisciplined rush him and you give him a run lane, he will make you pay. So you have to make him throw from a muddy pocket. You have to hit him and hit him repeatedly. Hit him. When he makes the throw, hit him. Make him wear that. Knock him down. Get him to the ground. Make him fear you. Make his, because that clock will get real short for him. And he'll throw the ball before he's ready on occasion. And that's where trouble happens, right? And as I talked to Alex Dono in the last episode, they don't have much of a run game, which if you don't have much of a run game and you're playing a team that is used to playing in a league to where everyone has a run game of some sorts, you have to defend against that. If you don't have a run game, that's advantage to the SEC team because you're already almost one-dimensional coming in. That's not good. That's not good at all. That doesn't bode well for your chances. That might be why they're planning this players-only meeting. So defense, make things muddy, make it where he's not throwing comfortably, all that good stuff. Now, the last key as far as environment goes, it's going to be hostile. We know that. So start fast, take the crowd out of it. And when I say start fast, it means when you get the ball, you have to drive it and you have to get points of some sort. A touchdown would be phenomenal, but I think a field goal would be good too. The first time you touch it, you have to drive it and you have to get it down there. It has to be demoralizing for this team, right? And there's nothing more demoralizing than a 10-play punch you in the mouth drive that ends even in a field goal. You get a 10-player that takes the wind out of the crowd, then you're sitting in a pretty good position because now it just becomes a football game. And the thing that gave Virginia Tech a huge advantage goes away. That's the 70,000 screaming Hokie fans. Now, you have to be able to manage that and you have to be able to start fast. And you have to be focused enough and disciplined enough to where it doesn't matter, right? I think obviously against Georgia State last year, it mattered. And I'm not saying Georgia State's a hostile environment, but it's a weird enough environment to knock you off your focus. And it happened. Against Missouri, I thought they withstood it all the way up until that double overtime. Crowd got to Brockett Launcher. He misses. He's a phenomenal kicker. But it's the environment. And in that moment, the environment got him. Now, he learned from it and he made some huge kicks later on down the season, but it's just an example of how the environment got to him. Now, Vanderbilt later on would conquer these road environments like Kentucky, which can be hostile, can be loud, can be a good home field environment. They kind of took their crowd right out of it. Auburn, the same way. That crowd, I wasn't there, but I knew Kurt Page was there, and he was telling me all about how it was weird that the fans were just kind of out of it. And that's because Vanderbilt really controlled the game. So if you're Vanderbilt and you want to win this game, you take the crowd out. It's like Gladiator. Win the crowd, win the game. And that's where they stand. So to me, if you can do that, I think you have the advantage up front that where you on offense, you can have some success running the ball because this is a havoc-based defense. You're going to be, and there's going to be some losses. There's going to be some tackles for losses. There's going to be some guys that are hitting the backfield. There's going to be some situations to where it's not always clean. There's going to be some situations where Diego Pavia is running for his life and scrambling, but he's good at that. There's going to be some situations to where Cedric Alexander gets stuffed in the backfield on a run. They're going to win some reps because I don't know if you guys realize this. Virginia Tech does give out scholarships as well. They do have NIL, and they still pay good players too. So their defense is going to win some reps. But I think overall, the offense is going to win more plays than the defense. And that's going to be the difference in the game. It's got to be, you've got to be able to be patient through those moments. And that's the biggest key. Be patient through those moments. Focus on what you have to do no matter what the result of the last play is. You have to just say, okay, here's my job now. Boom, go execute. Okay, fine. Here's my job now. Boom, go execute. Keep that mentality going, right? Say, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go dominate this next rep. I don't care if you make a 75-yard run and get tackled at the 5-yard line. If you're too busy celebrating that, it's going to be 3rd and goal real quick from the same yard line. So just that's the mentality you have to have. Every play is unique. So what's going to happen? Here's what's going to happen. And before we close out the show, I'm going to give you my other SEC picks. But here's what's going to happen in this game. This line has fallen. This line's fluctuating so much that I don't really want to put a line graphic out there because it could change. But as it stands right now, that line is 1.5. It is a pickup. So either there's a lot of respect for Vanderbilt or no respect at all for Virginia Tech, or maybe a combination of both. And Vandy's earned that respect. And I think it's a little too early to disrespect Virginia Tech. I still think they're a good football team. But I just think, to me, here's the prediction. Players-only meeting is never a good thing, even if it's rumored. Like, there's some dissent there. There's some stuff happening if there's speculation, if there's even speculation that there's a players-only meeting. So with that being said, you've got some turmoil. You've got some, it's real fragile over there. Like, I feel like one wrong thing and this thing could unravel for Virginia Tech. And Vanderbilt's a team that if it unravels, they can take full advantage. And I'm not saying that they're going to. I'm not saying it's even going to unravel. But I do think Vanderbilt's going to win this game. It's going to be a back and forth for a little while, but I think Vanderbilt's going to – I think they're going to get like a 10-point lead at some point. And I think Virginia Tech is going to score at the end to cut it to 3, but then Vanderbilt's going to ice the game. So Vanderbilt's going to win 27-24. That's your final there, because I think the defenses are good enough to keep this thing out of the 30s. But this is going to be an interesting one. I think Kyron Drones is going to have at least one interception, and that's going to be kind of where this game goes. So if you're taking Vandy's plus 1.5. So all they have to do is win. It's basically a money line with a slight advantage on the spread. So take Vanderbilt. Take Vanderbilt. That's what I'm taking. I'm taking Vanderbilt by 3. 27-24 is your final. That's what I'm going with. Okay. So hopefully that happens. But we're going to talk about some other games. We're going to wrap up the show next. Upside, man. Do you like pumping gas? Are you still paying full price for gas? Well, Vandy fans, stop leaving money behind, man. Get real cash back every time you fill up with free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code FOOTBALL and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commute, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out at any time to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon or other brands. So don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free app, the free Upside app, now using my limited time promo code FOOTBALL for 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's promo code FOOTBALL. Disclaimer. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Oh, man, this is my favorite. FanDuel. The NFL season, well, it is here. And FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets across the app. And that is a lot. So why do I love using FanDuel? That's a question I know that people really have to ask. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, however I like to bet. Player props, building same-game parlays, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. I like all of that. So the same game parlays are real fun for me, even though my hit rate on those aren't very good. I still like playing the player props are great. I love betting like, hey, CeeDee Lamb's going to have 4 catches today. Like I love like that. Those are such easy bets. So it makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye out on fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more money and energy to Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Wrapping up the show here, Locked On Vandy. We got a few minutes left to go. I'm going to give you some SEC picks to grow on heading into the weekend. Some picks that I like. And these are some good ones. And there's some games. There's a lot of big spreads this week. There's a lot of big spreads this week. But here's some games that I narrowed down for you here. All right. Oklahoma, Michigan. Oklahoma favored by 3.5. I'm taking the Sooners here. I'm a believer in John Mateer. I think he's legit. I thought he was that way coming into the season. If you've heard me on the squad shows, I've been a firm backer of John Mateer for the same reason I've firmly backed Diego Pavia. He comes in a master of the system. So like he knows, like he's basically him and Arbuckle are it might be the same guy. So he's going to inspire that team to be masters of that offense. So I'm taking Oklahoma minus 3.5. Arizona State, even though they can't find anything but a casino nearby, I like them minus 6.5. They're ranked 10th in the country for a reason. I think Sam Leavitt's going to have a big game here against Mississippi State. Now, the fact that this game is a 6.5 point spread, I think is a lot of respect for Mississippi State. It's tough to say right now, but Mississippi State's just not quite there. They're getting there, but they're just not quite there. But they play hard. They do a lot of good things, and this is a game that I like Arizona State in right now. It's not a good matchup for them. And then Missouri minus 6.5 over Kansas in the border war. It's a depth thing, honestly. Leipold versus Drinkwitz is a great coaching duel. Bo Pribula is a dynamic quarterback, and he opens up so much in the passing and running game for Missouri. I think they're going to be an electric team this year, and that's going to be something that that I'm looking for out of Missouri. I just hope later on in the season when they roll to Nashville, they just kind of leave some of that stuff back behind. Like they leave their offense on the bus. Like I hope they do that. So, but those are my picks. Oklahoma minus 3.5, Arizona minus 6.5, Missouri minus 6.5. Those are what I'm rolling with here on Locked On SEC, on Locked On Vandy, and those are the picks that I like as far as that goes. So those are 3 SEC games that's how I see them folding out. So this is, like I said, this is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a low key. It's going to be a good weekend, I think, with some of these games. They're going to be spread out enough to where you have something, every slot of the day. And, this is going to be, this season's off to a good start. I've always said this is going to be the most wide open SEC season, but judging by college football, this might be the most wide open football season, just in general. I think the NFL is going to be wide open too. So this is a lot of fun. Those are my picks. Hopefully, don't ever put my picks in a parlay. Just don't do that. Straight bet my picks. Okay, my picks as a parlay, they always suck when I try to parlay them. But as individual picks, I usually do pretty good. So that being said, Locked On Vandy. Make sure you pick Vandy at plus 1.5 or plus 2.5, whatever it sits at right now. Pick Vandy on the plus side of that because I think they're going to win this one outright. And that's how I feel. This is going to be fun. This is going to be exciting. But I'm going to try to come back to you right after the game. Just stay tuned on social media for announcements as far as when I'm going to get on and when programming would be right after the game as a reaction. But until then, have a great weekend. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your Saturday of games, and we will reconvene later on down the road. So enjoy yourselves. If you're going to the game, behave, be careful, be safe, and we'll see you back here next time. Anchor down. Peace.